We're live. Right. Back with our handsome Filipino guest.
We got two on, huh?
Two Filipinos.
Yeah, two Filipinos.
Yeah, I'm full Filipino.
Let's go, me too.
Let's go.
Yes,
Filipinos are actually going to be taking over the industry.
Yeah,
very shortly. Yeah. It's like a Filipino takeover, whole wave.
Pinoy pride. Exactly. We got our fellow Viet here too.
Yeah.
Viet?
So,
yeah, boys.
Welcome to the pod, Blake.
Yeah, welcome, dude.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me
dude.
on.
Happy to have you here, man.
It's been a while. So we met a couple months ago, and I know you've been working on some amazing things, and I've been seeing your stuff. You've been connecting with some people. Tell us about DFI and where is it so far right now?
Yeah, give us some background, dude, because like you and I have known each other since like high school, so he's a long-term friend of mine.
Yeah,
you know.
Middle school, right?
Yeah.
Evergreen. Hurdles.
Yeah. Literally, I met this guy running hurdles. It's so crazy. We're literally all from the same hometown.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's start off with that.
Let's start with
that.
that.
Yeah, that goes back,
dude. I mean, we grew up in like just north of Seattle. You know, when we tell people we're from Seattle, right?
Yeah,
like,
for the most part.
Like, we're not from Seattle. I'm from Mill Creek.
Yeah.
I'm from Everett.
Everett
High School, right?
Yeah, Everett High School.
Crazy.
Yep.
Crazy, small world. But I mean, we all decided to move out. I think that was step one.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's crazy. Like, so I ended up like seeing Blake when he was helping scale an agency for tattoo shops back in the day, right? And this is when you're like 18, dude, like I think, right? Like right after our high school. And I remember seeing Blake on Instagram, and he was posting about like how he's been growing and scaling. I literally remember a photo of your guys' sales setup. Like your guys' is like, you guys had like pop-up like, you know, what are those tables called? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what
you're talking about. The one that you fold open.
Yeah.
And basically, you guys had your whole setup there. You guys' whole sales team was there.
Yeah.
And I remember hitting you up and being like, bro, like, yo, what are you doing? Because, like, at the time, that's when I started, like, getting into the agency space. That's when I took my first course. If most of you guys know, I took a Ty Lopez course. GG, OG there. And, I was like, bro, like, how are things going? And Blake was just telling me, I was like, about like, you know, what he was doing, how he was like growing and scaling with that agency. And I was like, shit, that's fucking far. You know, and I was like, bro, this guy, like, we went to school together. So seeing that was very interesting.
Yeah.
And then I saw that you moved out to like Vegas because you and I kind of stayed in touch for a while. And, you know, we kind of shot the shit, went back and forth a little bit. And kind of like, I kind of saw his like journey. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I don't even know how the conversation started, dude. About Vegas, you know?
It was about Vegas, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I lived here before you did, and I kind of convinced you to move down. Right?
Yeah. Bro, this is literally why we're here.
Got sold.
Yeah.
Got sold.
Yeah.
It's a funny story, bro.
Yeah, but like, dude, I had no idea. Like, I saw that you lived out in Vegas, and I know that me and Elijah linked up from a mentorship that we had together through Trace program.
Trace program.
Yeah. And then like it was so crazy that I ended up like just like realizing he's like, oh, this guy's from Everett too.
Yeah, I hit you up. I hit you up.
Yeah.
Right.
And like I didn't expect to link up because at the time I had no friends. Zero. None. Yeah. Going through that grind phase. I don't know. I'm sure most of you, like, you guys have all experienced some phase of that.
Yeah.
You know, cutting off like a bunch of like people or friends that you used to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was going through that, and then I met Elijah through that program, and then I like
okay.
Oh yeah, and then we had a bunch of shit that went on.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you can tell him like we ended up linking up, and then we're like, oh, this is lit.
Yeah, it's sick.
Yeah,
in person, you know, we never really meet each other in terms of like, you know, online people. It's always Zoom calls.
Yeah,
I saw this guy in person in live in Mukilteo, one of the communities over there, and gonna shoot some shit, and then it was kick it off like first just one time, and I think we started hanging out like every week at one point, and eventually and then when we just started kicking it off, and then I went to Philippines for a couple months, and then we're like, I need to go back to America. And then I had some stuff happening, and then we're like, okay, let's go to Vegas.
Yeah, let's find a place, because we're just gonna move out in Washington, bro.
Yeah,
because like I wanted to move out.
Kirkland, right?
Yeah, I was gonna go to Kirkland. I was gonna go to Bellevue. You know, the nicer part of fucking Everett or you know, Washington. Yeah. But yeah, no, like fast forward now, like we've been here for what, 6-7 months now?
Yeah, 6-7 months.
It feels like a fucking lifetime since we've been here.
Yeah, to be honest. Yeah.
Honestly.
I got used to it. It's like it was like a love and hate relationship at the beginning. It's like it was so hot when we moved here.
Yeah.
But we're like, okay, there's some really high level people here.
Yeah, I think that's the nice thing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vegas is one of the most underrated, I'd say, cities in the United States, right? Because like we have like a very entrepreneurial like community out here where everyone's just doing their own thing, but everyone's about it.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know if you knew this, but I actually lived in Los Angeles for around 1.5 years.
Okay.
Before I moved to Vegas. Like the early startup days. And like people out there, I mean, outside of my like startup when I was there, you know, go to parties and all the get-togethers, like everyone just like chasing the follower count, you know, they're
cloud chasers,
quote unquote make it, right?
Yeah.
So it's just
like, bro, what do you do? And I'm like, I manage artists, right? Because I actually managed tattoo artists back then, right?
Yep.
We were a tattoo artist, and like they're like, oh shit, yeah, me too. Let's link. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, that's it. I sort of got in the music scene out there, like just hang out like with those people.
Yeah.
Some of them, like,
Yeah, you got some crazy stories, bro.
But like, it just wasn't my taste. Like I'm not
Why not?
facing anything just because like all of those parties, those conversations and like they lead to nothing.
Were they like very surface level or what?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I heard there was a part in California where like before they talk to you, they ask you how many followers do you have?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Oh, it's a thing.
What the fuck?
Dude,
okay, interesting.
Like, there's parties where if you don't have a blue check, like obviously before you can just purchase it.
Yeah.
They just won't like let you in. Like they're like that exists. So I was just like, this is just a little superficial for me. So I didn't really like the scene out there in Los Angeles because people were trying to, I guess, go like get the clout to build a business rather than build a business and get the clout. Like when you just do it in reverse, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but you know, it's funny. I mean, like when I was there, I was like actually building a startup company. You know, around COVID time. Started an agency, sort of like I told him the story. I'm not sure if I told you.
You haven't yet. So so what was the agency? So what was the startup?
All right, let's take a step back. So, you know what Running Start is? This is kind of like
You know
what Running Start.
I did Running Start.
Tell them what Running Start is though, because most people, depending on where they're at, they don't know what like Running Start is.
Yeah, so I mean, like my story starts sort of like in high school. Like I was not a degenerate kid. Like I'm an Asian. Like I look like I get A's and B's, right? So like, my parents had high expectations for me, and I had like higher expectations for myself. Beyond the grade. So I graduated high school with an associate's degree, and I was like, this is good enough, right? This is good enough.
Associate is not bad. Okay.
I'm learning business 101 from someone who actually hasn't gone through the motions yet. Like I knew that there was more. I'd rather learn from somebody for free to a certain extent. To actually learn what they're doing and how a business is actually operated, not from a textbook, but from an actual like operation standpoint.
The trenches.
So it was a December of 2020 when I decided, fuck this, I'm gonna drop everything. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move in with a mentor. And, this is a referral-based mentor. My uncle always talked about this guy through my life, and I know that he was like managing artists. I didn't know what kind of artists back then. He was just like tattoo artists. He's he's a bookkeeper, he's a CPA, he's a licensed accountant. Okay. But my uncle said, he manages like billions of dollars. Like this guy is just like black hat, very like behind the scenes. He's not like very glamorous or whatever. And I was like, I need to get a hold of this guy. Like,
that sounds so interesting.
I need to get a hold of this guy. So I did. I reached out to him. And, after, like, literally, like, 20 messages, he responded. He was like, sure, like, come over. Like, I'll kind of take you in. So I did. I left my hometown without my parents knowing the reason why I was going to go. I basically, I went to University of, not University of Washington, Buffalo, but I was going to go there, right? From Cascadia, I was going to transition. But I was like, it just didn't seem right. So I risked it. I was like, I told myself I'm going to work 365 days and I expect $0 in exchange. And
that is nuts. No one in their right mind would even do that.
I know, right? It's crazy. But like the thing is, like the thought that I had in the back of my head was like, I'm going to go the traditional route of school, and then I'm going to have a 100% failure rate because I didn't, at least pursue or try something that I knew, something that I knew that I could have done. the scariest thought. You guys had that thought before, right? Like,
Yes.
100%.
right?
Yeah.
You had that thought.
Breaking the matrix.
Yeah, like literally, like so if 100 people are walking in this direction, and you know their goal is like, you know, vaguely the same, and like I have bigger goals and aspirations. Like I've seen these people get results online and stuff like that. I'm like, shouldn't I not follow them?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
makes sense.
You go run in the opposite direction. So that's what I did. So fucking ate shit for like, you know, the first 3 months. Like,
No, you can't skip that part. That part's the crazy part.
Okay.
Yeah, that's. I've heard some stories, but I don't know if it's validated. So let me hear what exactly happened.
I pull up to this guy's house, right, and like he Filipino guy. Very like low key, has a family and everything.
Yeah.
Out in Pasadena, and he just sits behind his computer and does accounting for all of these you know, artists and stuff like that. Very boring, mundane work until you look at the P&Ls of some of the artists that he manages. Like, some of these artists are making anywhere from, you know, like on the lower end, like 13K a month, on the higher end, like 85K a month. I'm like, this is more than a doctor. Why? Like, artists are coming out of college, or even sometimes later in their careers, like in their like 30s. Yeah. And they're literally drawing on people. Like, this is my mindset. They're drawing on people. Yeah. In exchange for cash, like which requires zero collegiate experience. So I was like, who manages all these people? He's like, I just manage their finances, right? And I was like, artists suck at business, but they're really good at art, right? And like that was like that sort of thing where I was just like, what if you build a team that essentially manages all the business aspects of, you know, of them as a whole, like that enterprise? Yeah. And have them focus on what they do best, and that's exactly what I did. So okay. I mean, as I said, the first 3 months, I mean, like, I slept on the floor, then I upgraded to a couch. Like, literally, it was like, I ate shit, bro. Same, bro. Like, I didn't know I was going to get food for a while. I was like, fuck. You know struggling, what I mean? Like, bro, dude, that's crazy. I think, yeah, it's crazy.
I think that's what you need, though, when you're starting, like, that delusional mindset of, like, I know I can make this work out, right? Like, it's not like, you know, like, oh, you're scared, but I know, you know for a fact that there's something at the other side of the tunnel, right? It's not like, because I think every entrepreneur has like a similar story when they're starting off. It's like, you need to eat shit for a couple months, and even just maybe a year, right? Entire year to even see some results.
Yeah. Like I always say, like, you have to like go through shit to become the shit. And like, that's literally what you have to do. You know what I mean? Right. So like, I think step one, and like we all did this, is get a mentor. Someone who, again, has results, right? And even better, they've even taken people to the point where like they're at that level or even higher. Right? So like Trey, like I have a high level of respect for him, because he's just like, he's about it. He actually runs an agency, and like the coaching, the consultancy. Yeah. He also teaches people how to do it. Right. My mentor, on the other hand, he's never done it before, and like but I know he's mentored people in the past. Yeah. And I was just like, I was willing to take that risk, but like, okay, this is not a regular mentorship. Like, it was literally like, he said, this is gonna be the hardest thing in your life. Like, I have to break you down. Like, in order for you to, you know, become like your best self, like, I have to figure out what your breaking point is.
It's so
like,
interesting.
It was so tough, like mentally, like resilient. Like, it was so tough.
So what was like your routine daily like? Dude,
honestly, like, it was just wake up. I had to like wake up and go through all this paperwork, and I had to like process all these papers, like for him. He was trying to like, as you can imagine, so like, you have a mentee, like delegate. Like, you do all this shit so I can maximize my time spent with the kids. So I had to go through all those paperwork. I know, like, I failed accounting. Like, like, accounting sucked in college, but I had to like go through all that. And like, I think I just did a volume when I just understood numbers, and it started to get very mundane, right? But like, I was just like, you know, started
seeing patterns.
Exactly, started seeing patterns and everything, and I was just like, dude, like, this is great. I need to, you know, not do this. And he was like, cool, you're gonna have to figure out how to outsource. It's like exactly what I did. Outsource that.
Now he's teaching you, like,
without teaching me, right? So he did that, right? Okay. I mean, like, that's what I had to do. First hire was like a bookkeeper, and then I was just like, all right, well, we need people to like, what even does managing artists look like? Yeah. Like, his mentorship style was like, because I asked him the question, he was like, if you were going to manage a team, what departments do you need? And I was like, sales, admin, accounting. And then he was like, okay, so you have to wear the hats, and then you actually have to create an opportunity for other people. And he was like, who do you know? Right. So like, again, he never told me what to do. I had to like create all these departments and everything. And it was a lot. I mean, this I created a sales team out of
Okay.
we call these people.
Tell me, that's
very interesting.
That's up my alley, so I'm interested.
I talk to you.
Yeah, let me hear it.
Man, dude, I've never heard this before. Essentially, they're closers for the tattoo space, right?
Okay.
So a tattoo like this will take like 8 to 9 hours. It's considered a full day. It's going to cost like $5,000.
Okay.
So like $5,000. You want to work with an artist. He's usually booked out. You have to put a 50% deposit. So you have to put in $2,500 right now, and at the end of the session, $2,500 later.
Okay.
So at the peak, I was managing around 56 tattoo artists. Obviously, the 5K is a higher price point.
Okay.
But like, I had to build a team of booking managers who were obviously like consulting, essentially.
Yeah.
Consulting with people. They're booking managers, so they had to manage the bookings, know the artist's rates, trying to like finesse like sales, close deals. So what we did was we drop a lot of sauce on this podcast.
Oh my goodness.
I have no NDAs, so we're good. We created like a text message funnel, go high level.
Okay.
So all the artists in the entity just had one phone number, and all the leads were to text that phone number. So,
okay.
As you can imagine, there's a high volume of leads, anywhere from like.
And then you just start dialing them.
80. No, it was actually warm inbound leads.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, every single lead's like, yeah, like, want to get a tattoo, and it was round robin, right? So what
was the commission like for like the sales guys?
That's a good question. So first off, it was a flat base, and then after that, 3% of the deposits. Right, so they're making some a pretty.
I mean, it's all inbound, right? And then you just like
we had zero advertising. Literally, like we post on social media, like one post usually would attribute to like 3 to 5 sales. And
on average, the sale value for each client's like 3 to 4.
I would say probably like 2,500.
2,500
average rate. Like
they must have already had like a pretty solid organic following.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like thousands of followers.
The way that I see it is like the demand has always been there. People who want to get a tattoo usually would just reach out to a shop. Typically how that would work is they would either call them, and like their front desk assistant would write their name on a piece of paper and then email them. And that whole process sucks. That's why most tattoo shops, in my opinion, are just really bad at sales ops, is because they don't have the systems in place, right? Because like most people who are looking for tattoos are window shopping, right? Okay. So if one person wants to get a tattoo and they have $5,000 in their pocket, they're going to reach out to like 5 to 10 artists,
right?
Right, and it's usually the first to respond, right, or usually who has the best customer experience.
Right?
Yeah, so that's valid too.
Exactly.
So like how like we contact people who reach out to us up into the funnel for within 5 minutes, right?
Within 5 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
5 minutes after that, they're done. You lost the lead. If you're gonna spend like, let's just say like $3 to $5 on that lead, you lost $3 to $5 at scale. Right. So it's all about that like speed to response.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of the consulting myself. I couldn't handle it. I was just like this is like a lot of leads. Like I can't deal with like 50 new leads a day. Back to back to back. People want to get tattoos.
So is this the 50 leads a day each day? Each client that you were managing?
Work them all, right?
Yeah, I had to work all the leads, and it compounds every single day. So my pool of people was literally from college. Like those people were from college, and I was like, hey, entry level sales position opportunity right over here. I don't know how much money you can make, but we'll figure it out. And they're like,
did you hire them like
good.
Just because they're your homies, or like you kind of just knew them?
Referrals and homies.
Okay.
Yeah, like literally, they're like, do I need any experience? And I was like I had to make so many like analogies. I would say in college. And college is all about networking and high social hierarchy structure. Is what it is, right? And that's what a company is. A company is just a complex hierarchy of individuals that just work over a prolonged period of time. College is the same thing. And I said, look, at here, like it's very similar to like we had a frat culture, but like it's like you had to work your way up. Right. It's like you had to work your way.
So how did you do the ascension level for like each sales reps?
That's actually a really good question. So I was the first sales rep. Taking on all of like the leads, because like like that when you start to scale like a sales team, that handoff, that first handoff where you're like, oh shit, like I'm gonna give all the leads to this person.
Yeah, and you're like
a big jump. And I had to go through. I actually had to go through it. I was like, do I trust this person? And I literally had to. I know their option.
Yeah.
So handed over the hat. She did very well. And then I was like, hey, do you have any other friends that can do this? He was like, yes, cool. Sounds good. Boom. And honestly, it's really just about, they have to love, I think, the culture. They have to know a little bit about tattoos as well too. It's very like niched.
Yeah. Very niche thing.
If you don't know anything about it, it's hard to sell it.
Yeah. And the thing is like, from what I've realized, it's not that much of a hard sell, honestly. It's like, you get a tattoo, it's like, you text a book manager and, just like, you text them your reference photos, play some photos, tell them the price, tell them the deposit, and then they just send the money, they book it on the calendar, and then you go about your day. Like, it's not that difficult.
It's not like you don't need to objection handle. Nothing.
No objection handle.
It's little lay downs, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Some people might be watching this like, okay, well, Blake, what was the peak, monthly-wise, revenue-wise? What were you guys doing, pulling?
Yeah, so my agency was doing 2.3 million a month. Managing three, I don't know if I can say their names, but we were managing 3 tattoo studios and 56 artists. And I would say peak-wise wasn't necessarily financial peak-wise. Like, I know the month, it was in March of 2021, but like I think like the peak-wise was when I developed culture, and I think culture is like the hardest thing to develop in a like, not like when people say agency, you have like remote people, like they get on Zoom. I'm talking about like in person. Building culture is fucking hard. Like getting people to actually want to stay and do what they want to do for a prolonged period of time, incentivizing them to like do something that seems mundane to me, but you have to like incentivize them to do something for a prolonged period of time. Fucking hard.
Motivating them to.
So what's the sauce? What was the sauce? How did you motivate them to do and keep the morale high?
Yeah, because it's boring.
It's boring. Yeah, like setting, messaging, dialing.
It sounds bad, but you have to trap them. It sounds bad, but you have to trap them. So like that's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
Like we had I would say like 8 core people.
Okay.
We all like lived in an apartment. Eventually we had to work our way up to all live in an apartment. Like obviously I wasn't sleeping on the floor at that point. I was living like in an apartment.
Yeah.
And like,
thankfully.
We lived together and we worked together.
Okay.
Like we had a private chef because obviously Uber Eats, Grubhub was getting very expensive. Actually expensive. Like my team was spending over $5,000 in food a month, in accumulation, just like getting orders and shit and like going out. So like, this is ridiculous. Why can't we just order
a chef,
have a chef and just make us food 3 times a day? So that's exactly what we did. So like you have to kind of create that sort of synergy and that culture of them actually wanting to be there. And they're like, my back hurts. Like I can't sit down all day. Okay, cool. Let's work out. Like instead of you driving over to the the gym across the street, why don't we just build the gym here? Right. Okay. So like, we had to do that. From so much
perks. Like why would I leave?
The goal was to create so many perks. Right. Yeah. Like make it so desirable. When we're talking about customer acquisition, it's like those conversations are cool, but like I see an exact correlation from customer acquisition to employee acquisition.
Oh yeah,
right.
Same roadmap, dude.
The same thing.
It's so weird. Yeah,
the same thing. Yeah. So they, that's exactly what we had to do, and to create like the experiences. Like we would we'd open shops.
Okay.
Different tattoo shops. Some artists excelled. They're like, I want to create my own shop, and we're like, all right, cool, we got you.
Yeah.
So we did that. And
did you guys help them? Was it like a up front, like setup fee and then rev share, or how did you guys?
It was all rev share.
All rev share, no setup. Okay, no setup fee, just
genius,
straight.
Yeah,
that's smart.
No, a lot of people never talked about that. Like,
I hate setup fees.
Yeah, retainers just aren't very smart. But I mean, like rev share models and like partnerships is the way to go.
Rev share is the best because you just performance based. Like you guys can make the money.
Absolutely. Like I personally don't like getting paid for doing the work. I like doing the work and getting a paid percentage of how well I did. You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
it's good business.
It's good business.
That's all I did.
Especially sales, right?
Yeah. No, totally. I believe like you have to eat shit a little bit and like learn, and learn through lessons. But if you develop like a skill, just like how you're showing, people sales, which is a very valuable skill. People don't know how to like present themselves. Communicate. Like you're not teaching sales. You're teaching communication.
It's literally communication. Right?
What do they want and what do they really don't want?
Yeah, it's nuts because like. You grow up and you thought that you knew how to speak to another person, and then you start learning a thing or two. It's like, oh, people are actually really terrible at communication.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, totally. It's just like any other skill. I mean, like when you're teaching sales, I've gone through this multiple times. It's like they they kind of like feel embarrassed to a certain extent. It's like, I don't feel as if I need to be selling, but like, it's not the fact that they're like, okay, why are they embarrassed? It's usually because they don't know enough about the product. They actually haven't seen results from the product for themselves enough. They're not, you know what I mean? I think conviction sells more than actually like the tactic.
Yeah, you don't need the framework. Yeah, you know, it's like, not. It's like, if you believe in the product, like, bro, this is the best. Like, I've seen people did this, right? It's, you'll sell more on like the energy you give out.
Yeah.
Right? It's because it's a transfer of energy.
You know what's funny? Was my closing rate significantly increased after I got a tattoo. I was closing people without a tattoo, believe it or not. Like, literally. So like, I was just like, after this, I was so much more confident because people are asking me like, you know, this is my first tattoo. I've been saving up for a while, but like, I'm kind of nervous, bro. Like, is that kind of hard sitting me down? And I was like, yeah, it fucking is. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, but like, it looks dope. He's like, you're right, bro.
Yeah,
like,
that's dope. I love it. I love
like,
it.
I didn't
That's
die.
dope.
Like, I was definitely like on the brink of like, you know, on the brink of just like stopping, but like, just, like I was like, I don't regret it. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. And then when did you exit out of this agency?
So I made a complete exit November of 2021. So that's when my team kind of turned on me, and I was trying to go the direction of I would want to work a little bit more on like future tech, including like software. Like I think software would have absolutely taken over the industry. Like they were trying to go the route of let's service everybody and like only work with the top 1% of artists. I'm like, why can't we just help all of them at a very low price point? Because this is a high leverage play.
Right.
If we can just build software to manage all the tattoo studios, not inside of Go High Level, but like our own custom software for them to do that, it'd just be, you know, we would take over the entire industry. But my mentor said no. And it was like probably one of the biggest, I would say, like you know, only like it felt like I was getting stabbed and like it was just like twisting the knife. Because like it was just all of this that I built. I was like, we had the momentum of scaling, and then he just said like he just stopped. He's like, no, like we just have to keep doing this. I'm like, if you do exactly what you've been doing for the past 12 months, you're going to get the same results. We have to make a transition into, you know, new opportunities. We have to, like, you know what I mean? Like we were literally like all of our artists were getting booked out. Our internal team wasn't growing. So like we just didn't have the infrastructure to scale. I was like, we need to think differently. Right. And he didn't see that obviously because he's, you know, an accountant. So he convinced he convinced the whole team to essentially like ask me out. He was like, yeah, this guy is dangerous. Okay. So he can help, you know, like other tattoo agency incubator startups and essentially compete against us. So like that's when I was like, you know what? The thing that I learned from this is like you can take back all of the resources and the things that I've had, but you can't take back the skills. I've acquired those skills over the past year and a half, and I was just like, these things that I've learned, I'm going to apply them to the next venture, which is NFTs, and the next venture is AI, and the next venture, etc. But like, it's the same thing over and over and over again. You know what I mean?
How's that experience for you, bro?
The transition?
Yeah, like that must have been like very difficult, because I mean like if I were to empathize and like put myself in your shoes, it's like if you pour your blood, sweat, and tears, you're literally talking about like starting off on the floor, sleeping, and then like, you know, doing everything that it takes to build a whole team from scratch. You built the culture. You serve these people like off your own back. Like, you know, how was that experience going through that like transition?
Definitely one of the most, I would say, emotionally like tearing things that I've been through, because like all the people that you thought would, you know, had your back, right, would essentially just turn and go a different direction. I was just like, that kind of hurt. But I think it was all like they just, I mean, I didn't have, like, you have to sort of like forgive yourself, you know, with the tools and resources, both physically and emotionally, that you had in the past, right? It's like I didn't have the connections that I have now because I had to create opportunity to get those, and I had to like actually build value for like other people. So I think it was just, you know, them essentially telling me like, we can't do that because like we're not in that, like we're not knowledgeable in software. Like we're not like, I mean, like they went from like college and then like entry level sales basically, like admin, you know, like that. And then just like software is a different game. You know what I mean? Software is a completely different game because you're dealing with a lot of money. And like usually you have like investors, you carry a lot of risk. And then they just weren't ready for that. So I was just like, Yeah, I mean,
yeah, because you're leading from the front, and you're like, hey, this is the next move, this is the next direction, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's changed your perspective on relationships, like in business afterwards? Like how do you like? Yeah. How did that sit with you afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. I think money, and also I suppose like money changes a lot of people, right? When you hit, like when somebody starts making like a lot of money, I think it like amplifies who you are. Mm-hmm. Like some of my best friends haven't changed from like their like, you know, if I see like an influx of income and like they're, you know, doing very well, like their personality stays the same. They're like the same person. You ever notice that like with those like type of people where like
completely change.
There's some dicks out there that just like they just make stupid money but like they're empty. You know what I'm saying? And, like that's again, I think I have to tell people I have to like focus on scaling your character rather than your income first, because like you have to think of like what's actually
1,000%.
You have to focus on, it's called like your inner work, right? So I was just like you know, I had a very negative outlook on, you know, a lot of individuals. I would say definitely like November, but like I realized that like they had a lot of work to do and like they haven't gone through the motions that I have. And I said like, you know, I had to empathize like at a very high level. I was just like, you know, there's a lot of anger going on. I was like, you know, like for them to turn their backs on me, I was just like, that was a lesson, and I think that you have to like really forgive yourself and forgive other people and go that direction. And keep in mind, like 90% of them are gone. None of them talk to me anymore. It's interesting, right? So
that's interesting, because I do like, it sounds like in that position, I do feel like God's put you in a position to be a bigger person. And I was literally having a conversation about this earlier today with like one of my family members about like how if you're forced to be in a position where you have insights and wisdom that other people can't have, you're forced to be somebody that has to take on that role of being a bigger individual. You know? So yeah, that's crazy, dude. Like I think having to go through that's like, I think you're right, dude. That's the best way to look at it. Like, I mean, it's not a loss overall. It's a hard experience, but I think it definitely, would you say like it's molded your perspective and your like ability to know and have confidence that you can just bounce back from like more difficult like times?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know anyone else with that sort of experience in that vertical to transition from like agency to like, because Web3 and NFTs like sort of going from there, like it requires a lot of like fundamental skills like the agency space, right? We'll talk about that a little bit.
I'm actually curious. So I know the main fundamentals where you got your skill sets was like working with your mentor, but how are you able to apply and, you know, get those fundamentals? Because some of those guys that you were working with the agency, they kind of started the same you did, but how are you able to do, you know, like separate yourself from the pack and transcend to like a different, you know, like transition to a different industry?
Yeah, I think it was really like taking a step back and thinking like it's not the technical things, it's not the wave, it's not the trend, it's the fundamental things. And what I mean by fundamental things is, again, one of I want to revert back to like a lesson my mentor used to. He took me through this very harsh exercise, and when I mean like this, and this mentorship was very
it's
intense.
Different. Yeah, it was a different mentorship.
Like, it was like mentally intense, like like 4 hours of sleep and shit like that. Man, he was overworking me. But like he would give me like these tasks and like the assignments and like sort of missions to complete on a daily basis. Like there's this one time where it was just me and him driving in a car. And he thought that I was ready for this lesson about speed, right? So the lesson is speed. Essentially, we were driving in LA, going to a tattoo shop in West Covina, and I was going probably like 60 miles per hour on the freeway. And he essentially told me, he was like, can you speed up a little bit? And I was like, okay, yeah. Pass his car, speed up a little bit. And he's like, faster. Like, all right, I'm going like 70 miles per hour. I don't want to get pulled over. Faster. Like, okay, whatever. I'm going 80. I'm like going, okay, I have like two hands on the wheels. Okay, I'm going like really fast. Keep in mind, it was pretty early in the morning and like there wasn't that many vehicles around me. So like it was, you know, relatively safe. Until the point we're going close to 100. And he just kept on telling me to go faster, faster, faster. I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, we're going to fucking die. I'm either going to get pulled over or we're going to die, right? So I was going like 100 miles per hour in a Tesla, right? And like, even more like when you accelerate in a Tesla, you don't really feel it. It's just like, ding, and like, you're zipping, right? And the lesson that he taught me was like when you're in a car, like I can only explain this to you guys like in you know through words, but like through experience. Like when you're in a car, what happens when you accelerate past other vehicles going 60 and you're going 100? What happens in your vision?
It starts getting blurred.
Everything, tunnel vision, right?
Yeah,
starts getting blurred. Vision. Your hands are a little bit more like on the wheel.
Yeah,
like you're passing other people, and the direction in which you're going becomes a little bit more clear. The destination becomes clear. Like
like like I think there was some analogy from this one guy said like focus at the white, not the trees. Right? I forgot what exactly he's saying.
Yeah. No,
snowboard,
totally.
right?
Everything else becomes blurred. That was like a turning point for me that I remember, where like I just like the cars were just like blurred. I was fucking hammering it, right?
100 miles per hour.
And like we got there, like the ETA said like it was like 23. We got there in like 17, which is actually like great. Like crazy,
5 minutes.
Like that's a
that's a big
going pretty fast.
Yeah.
And like we stopped, and I was like, Jacob, that was really fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
And he was like, take that as a lesson. You know, because like in life, I remember like there was so much going on in the agency, so much.
Yeah.
I had a lot of stress because like we're opening up another shop, and like I was like, fuck, like I don't know if this, you know, this location's gonna do well. Like I don't know if this is gonna make money. Like I'm putting a lot of artists' egos and all their like, you know, like all like everything is at risk here. Like But he was like, when you're overwhelmed or stressed about something, and like you just hear noise, speed. I was like, fuck. That like I have like
I get goosebumps. Holy smokes!
Whoa! And he was like, "You're going through a lot right now. I
go faster.
I empathize, but I'm telling you, it's not the time to slow down. Like people like around you, just noise. Just fucking go, right? So like I like for the next like couple of weeks, like dude, like I was just like, fuck, like I'm not going fast enough. So like I remember coming back home. And like my sales team were just kind of like, you know, lounging around on their laptops, waiting for the leads to come in. Fucking boards, not like the numbers didn't really change. And I was like, guys, we gotta fucking go. Like, you know, we have to go. Like, what do you mean we're going? He's like, no, like we have a retreat to go to. They're like, what the fuck do you mean?
Yeah.
He's like, pack all of your laptops. You guys need to bring monitors. Bring your fucking monitors. We're going to Malibu, and I booked us VRBO. We're gonna be staying there for 7 days, and you know we're just gonna go fully fucking monk mode. We're gonna turn off, and we're just gonna be like, we're just gonna dial it. We're gonna figure it fuck out, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what we did, right? So sales went up. Why? It's because we just went faster. Like everything went faster. The response rates were faster. I mean the admin department. I mean like when an appointment came through, it was processed a lot faster. Because what we did is we changed our environment. We changed the normal, right?
The norm.
And I think that was like a big proponent. I was like, those are the lessons that I've learned. Those are like out of the thousands of lessons and like experiences that I went through. That I was like, oh shit, like you're probably not going fast enough. If you feel like you're like getting overwhelmed by things, like that's when you have to like go 100 fucking miles per hour. Like,
that's fine. I love
just
that.
Fucking go. You know what I mean? Like that was crazy, but yeah, for me, I guess like going from that transition. From the agency to like because like NFTs, Web3, like that's future tech.
That's another thing we could even dive into, man. Like
speed.
Yeah.
Wait, let me ask you this, bro. Like, what is that relationship like with that mentor? Like, how would you describe it?
I'd say like more of like a father figure. Honestly, it was hard. It's kind of hard to explain because like he was a high level dude. Like. He would recall conversations and like word like he had a thing with like numbers, like literally like, he knew numbers off the top of his head like that, like you have to really watch out what you say to this person because like 3 weeks passes by he'd remember exactly what you said, but like he'd have like a like if
eerie like
weird it's just he was super like it was called consciousness.
It's consciousness.
His state of consciousness I would say is significantly higher than the average individual, so you have to be very careful what you like just how you move, right? Like it's interesting because I started to notice how not what people do, but like how they move. Like that's like one of the biggest things when I'm looking at people. I even like audit myself. It's just like do you do you constantly forget things? Right?
100%.
Then you're a forgetful person. Right? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like a lot of those things. But like the relationship with my mentor is. Yeah, no, I mean, as I said, it was a father. It was hard November because like kind of had a breakaway.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, like I looked up to him.
How do you feel like that like it's interesting because he was a complete stranger, right? And
yeah.
And in a short time, like a year and a half, like that relationship fostered, like, what do you think were like key components that made you walk away from that relationship thinking, wow, like he was a father figure to me and like he was a mentor in that aspect?
Well, I mean, when I had to define what the mentorship was, because like that was the thing. I came under his wing and I was like, you know, I'm down to the mentorship, and he was like, I will break you, essentially. And like we have to see what you're capable of. I was like, okay, sounds good. Whatever. Where do I sign? I had like rose-colored glasses back then. And essentially, like he sort of like made that definition for me when I was like, what defines a successful mentorship isn't necessarily how you're able to like retain, but like also like when am I going to graduate? Like when am I actually gonna like take these skills and like actually like put these skills in like different aspects of my life, like working on different different businesses, like communicating to other people, negotiating, all those things. And when that point in time, come November, like he kind of like gave me like a look and kind of like looked down. He's obviously probably sad to see me leave, but he was like, he's ready. It doesn't matter what he's gonna do. Doesn't matter, you know, what projects he's gonna work on. Doesn't matter what, you know, businesses he's gonna partner with. Like, he has the fundamental skills to success.
That's far.
Every single time, and it's just like learning those, like, you know, those little things, like communicating with people, just like seeing how people move, like it. Like,
okay,
it goes full circle.
So for those fundamental things, that can you list those out? And what are the fundamental things that you was like, you know what?
I have all on my phone.
Let's do it. I want to see it.
Dude.
You're dropping so much sauce. If you guys are watching this, right? There's so much sauce right now.
There were a lot. Like there were a lot over here. Let me see.
And is this list curated throughout that 1.5 years?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. So
that's a lot.
Maybe this is your. Maybe this will be part of your book.
Yeah,
when you write it, my friend.
Okay. Here, pick one. I'll tell you a story.
Okay.
Yeah, pick one. I'll tell you a story. Because like these are all the things that.
This one is good. You will become astonishingly good at predicting the behavior of others if you always assume they will act in their own best interest.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That is so good, dude.
Yeah.
That is so good.
A lot of times when I had to go through negotiations with artists opening shops or whatnot, I had to like really break down, what do they actually want, right? Like, what do these artists genuinely want to do with their careers, right? And a lot of them are money incentivized, right? So like, if they're focused specifically on making as much money as possible, then we're on the fucking same page, because it's just like, we could take a cut of that. So it's just like when I'm talking, it's like, let's just cut through 80% of the fluff and like, what do you really fucking want? Like, what is your interest? And he's like, okay, I want to retire my wife. I want to, you know, move into this house. I want to, you know, do all these things, right? So like when you're in like negotiation, you have to like actually have interest. You actually have to like accomplish those things for those people, because like if you actually help them win, you take a percentage of the.
You will win inherently.
Exactly, everyone wins. Like, you know what I mean? And also on like opposite of that, I mean, like, you have those instances where, you know, people don't just have your best interests, and you know what I mean? Like sometimes.
I'm curious about this one. Life doesn't make a lot of sense. Nothing right or wrong. It's how right or wrong things are.
It boils down to the truth, honestly. This was an interesting one because, like, I think that there's a quote by Alex Rosie that I think he says, we question our beliefs except the ones we truly believe and the ones we would never think to question. So that really has, you know, like a direct correlation to this quote, because it's just like, just because you think you're doing something right doesn't necessarily mean it aligns with the truth. The truth is like, it just is. You know what I mean? We're talking about this a while ago. It's like, you know, some people might think that they're doing good, right? On the extremist sides, you have like people that are, you know, taking, you know, like invading Germany, you know, taking over Poland, you know what I mean?
Type shit.
Exactly. But like, to a certain extent, it's like, you have to sort of define what the truth is. And I think that willpower is dangerous, honestly. When you think it's dangerous, it's interesting because like it's a balance. It could be dangerous in the terms of like, it's good for everybody, or it can be dangerous where it can cause a lot of harm. But I think that truth is like, you have to, be careful in the direction in which you're working towards. Right? You always have to question your truths. I think that was
like your facts. Like, what do you believe as completely true?
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, when someone's like super confident, it's like, why are they confident?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's probably their track record.
It's the depth, right, of the individual.
Right.
Okay, this one is interesting too. High level people do high leverage things. Low level people do low leverage things.
Oh yeah, dude.
That's fire.
It.
Yeah, how did you come across that lesson?
Here, you pick some after it, but there's a lot here. Like,
these are just things where like, fuck, I was just like, I had to go to, I had to step aside really quick and type it in when like I got taught a lesson. But like, I mean, high leverage individuals, those higher level people, they usually maximize their time, right? Like, we're over here recording a podcast, having a good conversation, but like we have a business like that has like a payment portal. You know what I mean? Like we have like website traffic that goes in, like they're able to make a purchase. Whereas like somebody who, for example, works a job, they actually have to put in some sort of energy, time, and effort in order to get a single dollar, right? So like that's called leverage, right? So when we're taught like there's people out there that meet up for dinner, shake hands, and that handshake, they both made millions of dollars, right? It's like you have to question what work is, but like you also have to identify what leverage is, and like I think that's a really big one as well too. And
that's one thing I'm like right now. I'm like kind of conceptualizing is like the leverage, right? Like it's not a lot of people talk about that because I was at the point where it's like last 12 months feels like it's like a repetitive thing, right? And it's like, okay, the task I'm doing is not leveraged enough, right? And it's like, okay, well, what's the shift that I need to make? And I talked to this high level guy today, and bro, I'll show you later, but it's insane, bro, on what the next steps are. That I was like, it's so much clarity. It's like one of those things where you feel like you're like a chicken with your head cut off and you're running all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And when someone comes in and they kind of see you on a higher level, and they're like, "Why don't you just do this? You're already doing it. Like, just do this and that." And you're like,
you know what's funny? When you're talking with like those higher level individuals, it's usually the answer is actually, well, oftentimes not. It's more simple than you think it.
Yeah, it's like it's so simple. You're already doing it. Like, just do it this way. Like. It's not
so true, dude.
Right? It's like so I remember, like there's a lot of oftentimes where like I'm talking to like a mentor, and it's just like, oh, man, like I have to do this and this and then this, right? But like I might get this, right? But like they would ask me, it's like, is that what you want to do? Like, does that sound like a good idea? Like, if you're gonna go out and ask every single person if that's a good idea, what do you think the reception would be? And then if I'm thinking like, fuck, it's probably not a good idea. It's probably not a good idea. Right, and then I probably shouldn't do it.
Just don't do it, right? It's nuts when like you get to talk to people like that, and it's just like people make it more complicated as it should be, right? Like it's simple.
It's so simple. Yeah, that's what I love about like learning like lessons like this, because it really boils down to like simplicity scales, man. Simplicity does scale. Scalability is repeatability. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's so far. Yeah, this one's interesting. Why would you say influence is less than affluence?
Oh man, impact over income. Honestly, in this one, I think you have to have like. I think you just have to like create good rather than to create good for yourself. I think you have to create good for like everybody around you. Like if you're an individual, like an impactful individual, like a truly impactful individual, you have to make everyone win around you versus just being like selfish and just like only doing things for yourself.
Agreed.
It's like, I want to do things myself. I want to make this amount. Because like, for example, it's like if your goal is to make 10K a month and you're solely focused on making 10K a month, what happens when you hit it?
It's empty.
It doesn't feel like anything. Right? Like literally, like it's crazy to me. So, I think you have to really focus on as I said, making everyone around you win. And like that was a lesson, because like I remember like, dude, I had like an ego death at one point because
tell me about it.
I was just like, fuck, like I'm doing everything just like my way. Like the shift that I had like when I was running an agency was, instead of me making decisions for the company, right? Like a company against sort of like a triangle where like the higher level person makes a decision and then everyone else kind of just does that. like I had to like, it was very unorthodox, and I would only recommend this for certain people, but like I'd flip it and get their feedback to help you make better decisions, because at the end of the day, it's not products or services that run the business, it's the people in the company.
Right. Agree. 100%.
Yeah. So it's just like when you kind of go through that loop, you're like, oh fuck, like I could have saved.
It's not about you.
Yeah. I kind of saved so much time and energy and money to just like ask better questions, get feedback, and make adjustments based off of their feedback, rather than, oh no, I'm right.
Yep.
100%, man.
Yeah. Fuck, like, dude, 2020 Blake was just such a fucking, oh man, like just trust me, I'm right, and like, you know what I mean, and just like they're like, okay, let's go through the motion. But like,
bro, I love how Blake is so sharp. Like we ask him a question, it's like, this one is like, bam.
I remember this off the top of my head because like I've gone through the motions.
Because it's actual like depth experience, right? That's like, okay, I had like a physical experience, like
reaction
with this.
to it. Yeah. I think that was interesting because we were having a conversation earlier about like how great like CEOs and leaders usually have like a really good vision. And then like it's just about gathering like the right people that can like bring that vision to life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, because like I mean, as long like I think it's very interesting because I was talking to this one guy. His name is Aaron Platts, but he builds sales teams essentially. And every like big leader that he talked to, he would just say like they have a really, really crystal clear vision, but they're really loose on how they want to get there. So it's like that fluidity and like that like availability to take in like responses, because again, like if you think about it, like probably like Mark Zuckerberg doesn't know how to code everything, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, very interesting.
You know, like during you know, when people were going on ships and like going to different countries, it's like you have one person steering the boat. Like you have the people who are rowing. Usually there's like hundreds of people that are actually doing physical labor. And that person steering the boat could be right or wrong, right? It's
exactly.
Like imagine like a sea, like a blue sea.
Yeah.
You don't know where the fuck you're headed.
Yeah.
You don't have GPS. You don't have Google Maps. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know what's going to be there.
Yeah.
Some people actually, like, this is a crazy thought. Like, when you're going in a direction in a boat, you're taking all of your resources and you're exploring different countries. They genuinely thought, like it might just drop off and fall the flat world theory.
Exactly.
Right? That's what I'm saying is, like, you have to, like, I think conviction could sometimes be just as dangerous as it is effective.
Yeah.
Right? Which is like interesting.
It's like knowing when's the right time you need to use conviction and when do you need to use like, because you need to have some uncertainty to like actually figure it out. Humble.
It's a dichotomy. It's like
it's
less about like are you 100% certain? It's also you have to be willing to question yourself.
There's this book that I read called Think Again by Grant something, and it was talking about like that golden line of like having conviction with yourself but always having uncertainty of like the mechanism that you're using, right? Because if you're convicted here and you're convicted here too, then there's no room for growth, right? You need to always have like, okay, well, what can I do better?
No, totally.
Let me ask you this, bro. So you went through this whole experience for a year and a half, right? Where most people like listening to the experience is like, holy shit, like that's a roller coaster, right? So you said speed was one of your favorite key takeaways.
Yeah.
What would you say are two others to have your top three like lessons that like really resonated with you from that like era?
Oh man, I have a lot. I think on a caveat to that, speed, like moving really fast, but like also like again you talk about those dichotomies, like just enjoy, like if you go fast in a vehicle you're not like present. If you go fast in life and you're just accomplishing all these things, it's like you're not present, right? So I think it's also to a certain extent like a balance between the two. It's like sometimes you have to like you have to learn how to turn it off and on, turn it on and off and just like move fast, but sometimes it's just like sometimes you just have to like look and like it's a nice day to go for a fucking walk.
Yeah.
Like this
patience.
This meeting can be pushed. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's fun. It's sort of like a balance between the two.
Right.
I guess one of the takeaways is really boiling down, like seeing like just boiling down the truths of everything that is like around you. Like just like seeing
things for what they are.
Exactly. Seeing things for what they are and also asking how other people see it. Right? 'Cause it gets you to question. Again, it's like sort of like borderline philosophy. Like it gets you to question your own reality if other people's perceptions are completely different. You're probably wondering why is their perception
is so drastic,
different. Why is it the complete opposite? Well, you start to question your own reality, and then you start to question other people's realities.
Yeah, it's so interesting, right? Because it's the same thing with like the Bible, right? Like it's like, why is there so many religion? Why is there so many different perspective on Jesus? Why is there so different perspective on how God should be served?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it's just different angles, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like if you look at it, they're looking at, it's like there's a feather in front of like a circle, right? And then there's a sunrise, sunset. They're seeing it two completely different angle. This one person maybe is just seeing like a part of the feather, but the other person is like, oh, that's just like, just a dust. Like, well, it's just different angle, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, totally. I mean, something that also rings a bell in my head is like, money loves speed. Like I've heard this before. Money loves speed. Wealth loves time. And poverty loves indecision.
Yeah.
Right, and I really think that's like so true because you have to like learn you have to learn when to actually turn those things on, and also to what extent.
Yeah,
right. Like,
that was the first I ever heard that was when you said it. Yeah. Let me ask you this, because like you mentioned this, and it might be on the deep end, which I think is interesting because you mentioned ego death. Right? So there's personally, I know I've experienced that before.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird. Right?
Yeah.
But what, tell me about that experience, and what would you say, I'm sure have you had more than one ego death before? Have you gone through it before? Kind of walk down that path, bro.
Have you done ayahuasca before?
I've never done ayahuasca, but I've done shrooms and shit, but relatively psychedelics, whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, you sort of have to, it's like looking into a mirror and looking at what is. Right? You just be like, and it's it's scary to think. This is a very scary thought that I have for other people, and also for myself, is when you look in the mirror, you're not happy with yourself. That's a very scary thing.
It is, yeah.
Genuinely. It's because I think it derives from characteristics that people aren't happy from themselves, because of their ego. It's again, the inner work. But for me, I think it's you have to, it sounds bad, and it sounds, I think it's pretty extreme, but you have to kill your ego. You have to kill your past self. You literally have to kill that person, because that person is going to keep you it's going to be a linear, it's going to keep you exactly
where you're at. Yeah.
Results. It's if future Blake has the results that I don't have currently, is exactly where I want to be to a certain extent. It's this present Blake, it's you have to learn, I think, the hard lessons. And you have to really self-reflect, and I think that person far in advance is a lot, it's you have to sort of define the characteristics.
Who that person is.
Would be, right?
Because it's the same thing in, this is going to give a chess analogy because I've been playing chess recently, but so before you can actually figure out how to play the middle game in chess, because there's opening, middle game, and end game. There's this one grandmaster that said, before you figure out how to play middle game, you need to figure out what your end game plan is. Right? So it's the same thing with creating who yourself is. You need to figure out who your higher self is before you can start moving to that direction. Because a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, I just want to make money financially. What does that mean? Right? But no, it's so broad, right? So that's one thing. It's just
an interesting concept. Yeah, I think we're totally. For a while, one of my biggest lessons in 2023 is that idea that, in order to change, you have to understand the direction that you're going into, and that you can literally create any variation or version of yourself that you could possibly ever imagine.
Yeah.
And for me, it's weird to think about. There's no box. There's no at least if it's in the realm of physics or whatever, reality, right? You want to just keep it in a tangible essence. Yeah. You can literally create any variation of yourself you possibly could want. I think that's interesting too, because when we're talking about a higher state of consciousness. I feel like that's what it comes from, is like once you kind of make those like delineations between like how life kind of works, how the world operates, how the universe works. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, at least on like a spiritual aspect as well. I think that's what I've been learning a lot, like at least from like the Bible and like religion and those aspects, because they're all kind of like tied together. And there's ways and things that the world operates in this reality where a lot of people aren't aware of. Like, you know, we were talking about, like, if you want to go into the conspiracy theories that are fucking true, right? Yeah. You know, like
most of them are.
Majority are.
If you heard them a couple of times, there is some sort of truth.
There's consistency behind it, right?
There's a reason why they're there. I think it's interesting because once you start kind of realizing how things work in the world and you can create whatever you want, the reality becomes like an interesting experience. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Because again, you're boiling it down to like core essence, like lessons, where it's like they're applicable in business, but they're also applicable in like every single other aspect of your life. You know?
That's so crazy.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you that, because like if you've gone through those experiences and you've like been like, okay, this is my current state, like what's the next future Blake look like? What have you built in your mind that's going to achieve the outcomes that you currently desire?
I was going to ask that.
I think for me, the biggest thing is getting enough, I would say, reps in like because like I'm working in like software now, and you know, keep in mind, like I've been working, I guess, in software. I guess like Go High Level is software.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, like we use softwares on a daily basis. When you turn your laptop on, it's software. So instead of like my perspective is, so like what I want to create like a platform for like people to actually like use this thing rather than like use this to like get like a certain, you know, like make money. Like it's like why would you use, for example, like Go High Level, you know, and scale that, trying to get as many agency accounts under you? Like, why can't you just create the new Go High Level? You know what I mean? And that takes a lot of resources. That takes a lot of time. And I think I've learned the lessons to, you know, put myself out there, meet the right people, get access to funding if need be, and learn how to, you know, for me, it's like one of the scariest things is like I thought I wasn't tech savvy, for example. Like one of the biggest challenges for the past like 4 months was trying to create my own app on like just myself. Like I had obviously help with the developer to a certain extent, but like I'm like learning Bubble, which is like a no-code app, and just like it's one of the biggest challenges for me. So I think the next step is like I want to start challenging myself. You know, from the things that I thought that I wasn't even capable of doing. I would back like in 2022, if you were to tell me now like that I would learn like coding or like no code like app building, I'd be like, dude, this is fucking crazy. Like, why don't you just, you know, outsource that to like, you know, to get funding and outside. But like it was such a challenge that I was just like I want to take that skill on, and I think it's really just pushing myself like those limits. Like I want to, you know, like outside of business, I want to complete like my first 50-mile bike ride. Right? I want to, you know, do like a full marathon without dying. You know what I mean? Like,
that's fire.
Like, you know what I mean? And I think it's just like really, you know, putting in, I would say, the effort to like complete things that I thought was impossible. Like, and I think that again, it's not something like materialistic. It's not something like I want to hit like 100K, a million. Like it's literally like I don't know what I can achieve, and I think that's the most powerful thing that you can have as an individual. Is like you don't know what you're capable of, and like that was another lesson. Was, you know, from my mentor. It's like I didn't know I could do that. And he was like, you don't know what you're gonna do. You just taught yourself a lesson.
Dang. That's like boxes, like even the idea or the concept of hitting a milestone boxes you into that.
Right. That was crazy to me.
That is crazy. You can do like you literally have the capability of doing whatever.
Yeah, you can if
you can imagine it.
If you can imagine it, exactly. Like you just have to like look at something, right? Obviously you want, like, having goals and aspirations is good, but once you have a metric, right? Especially if that metric is far, you have to identify what the metric is, and then again you just have to reverse engineer. Okay, how can I like realistically achieve that metric, right? And just like once you put in the reps, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead, and I think like the more reps that you do, it's sort of like riding a bike. It's like, you know, when most people ride a bike, it's like hard to like stay up on the bike, but again, speed. Right? It's like you have to make, you have to put in the reps. Like I like to make these analogies. It's like snowboarding. Dude, my life is snowboarding. Like there's so many lessons that I have specifically from snowboarding that I apply to my life. Right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like
that's why it's so important to just like not always be so like in the business, where it's like you need to also go, in the snowboarding,
detach,
and do this mini side quest, because there are lessons on those side quests that you do, right?
Oh yeah,
they can bring in
Muay Thai.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many things. The fundamentals always. The crew new and Muay Thai always say foundation. Just get your stance. Needs to be like, don't do all these fancy things. Just keep your stance.
The basics.
Basics. It's just this guy already have over 500 fights, and then he just say basics. Stance. That's it. Don't need to do these fancy things.
Right.
Just
that's fire.
Yeah, that's it.
That's interesting. Totally. So let's talk about like with the concept and idea of leverage, right? Mm-hmm. And you know how like that, I think it's the Warren Buffett quote, like, it's not what like how hard you row, it's what boat you choose. So let's explain your thought process.
Extrapolate it.
Yeah, like explain your thought process on, okay, exited the agency space and I'm free. Like you have you're no ties, right? There's no business model that you're tied to anymore, right?
Yeah.
You're essentially free to do whatever you want now. Yeah. Like, what's the thought process behind picking the next business model you wanted to go into?
Well, I want to the thought process for me is I want to see where technology is headed. I'm a huge proponent on technology. I mean, if you were to look at how the internet evolved over the past, I would say 30 or so years, it's moving very fast. And if you were to actually I've been working with something called it's called future tech, and under the categories under future tech is NFTs, crypto, Web3, artificial intelligence. This is where the world's headed, right? So why not build in the future, right? Yeah. And I have a very long-term play with that, but I just have to I want to make sure that it's going to be ethically right for everybody, especially working with artificial intelligence. I mean, I went through a lot of I don't know if you knew this, but I had an NFT agency, so I was helping people launch projects and stuff like that. I've worked with Iman and his Gentrification K Club, Ryan Pineda, and stuff like that, and those are the top 1% of NFT projects that were very, very successful because they had the right business, right? People are creating NFT projects to create a business rather than have an existing business and create an NFT project from that. So again, it's learning the lessons that that I've learned from agency to working in future technology. Now it's now software and stuff like that. Yeah. And just I just want to make sure, just like in chess, I want to be 5 steps ahead of individuals, but I have to make sure that I'm making the right plays now. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It was always forward thinking, right?
Yeah, always. Yeah. Just the next steps. And I think for me that's where I want to work.
Yeah, and
software has some of the highest.
I think this is a good transition, and asking you I know you're building your company right now, which is Ideafy.
Yes.
Where is that at, and where is the vision with Ideafy?
Yeah, so this is funny actually. So you don't even know this. I started a software company with my girlfriend. Zero. Okay. She has zero experience in software. Literally zero. She's a personal trainer. She creates some content and stuff like that. Yeah. Right. You've probably seen her on my Instagram. But I wanted to build I wanted to build in this vertical because I knew this technology was the future. And where Ideafy is currently at right now, we just passed over 100 users, which is really cool.
Nice.
Let's fucking go, bro. Congrats, bro. Congrats. Big ups.
I appreciate it, man. And dude, it should I tell people to build a software? Fuck no. It's so hard.
It's not
it's not as easy. Literally, you need to learn the lessons before you just delve into this. It's not the next drop shipping. It's not the next, Amazon.
Amazon. FBA.
Dude, it's another animal, bro.
Yeah.
So far, with Ideafy, I would say the first 3 to 5 months we're focusing on helping content creators. So anything that's just going to help them write better content faster, write scripts, write hooks, repurpose, let's just say their Twitter threads and repurpose that in blog posts, right? So we're trying to cater to, helping creators essentially, right? But we come to find out that, you know, it was a high churn, transparently, because like creators are usually creating content to create a business rather than helping, you know, business, and I'll get to this in a little bit, businesses create more, you know, opportunity within their business, right? So we actually made the transition out from solely helping content creators now towards like helping like small to medium sized enterprises and businesses.
I like that. Yeah.
Right. So that was actually a much bigger transition.
More leverage in that too.
Way more leverage.
Yeah.
And in fact, like, you know, like it was to the point where it's just like, oh man, like obviously we had to like get the, you know, learn those lessons, and like, you know what I mean? Like, I was getting on demo calls with creators and stuff like that. And it was just a lot of work for like, dude, like for
the
like,
leverage.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like for like $30 a month, like versus like, okay, like this company, you know, they're doing multi-millions of dollars, and like they just want to figure out like where to like, you know, where to like put, like where to sideline this money, and like, you know, how to make operations a little bit more efficient. Yeah. Right. And also like, you know, I started transition from, okay, let's help content creators like write short form scripts and like, you know, do this and this and this. Yeah. Now it's just like, okay, how can businesses that are working in the SBA and like the Chamber of Commerce and like like the White House, like how, like what is AI? First they have to define it. How is that going to work in businesses? Where do I see it and stuff like that? So it's a different animal, bro. Yeah. It's a different animal.
I think I heard a really good quote from this CEO or the founder of NVIDIA.
Yeah.
And the quote, basically, he was just like, pick hard shit, you know? Because at the end of the day, like, bro, building, like, the tech that NVIDIA has, like, it's fucking difficult, you know? Crazy. So I think, like, if you're to pick, like, a vertical to go after, it's like you should pick something more difficult just because a lot less people are actually going to, like, try their hand at it and actually want to, like...
Here's another one I heard from Sam Ovens. He talks about a lot of people look for easy, fast, and quick. But if you would look on how Amazon was built, it was hard, difficult, and it was expensive.
Yeah.
Right? And then no one can't copy it. Look at where Amazon is right now.
Totally. Yeah. No, I love that. It's like running in the opposite direction.
Yeah, and it's like, wait, it doesn't make sense. Everybody's outsourcing in Philippines. Everybody's like, you know, just getting the cheapest possible, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting now because, like, if you look at the online space, it's kind of like the same analogy with school. Everyone has, like, a similar vision, similar, like, idea of what they want to do. Yeah. And, I think it's another variation of running in the opposite direction again. You know, doing more difficult shit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like you have to, like, if you want to make $1 billion, you have to solve $1 billion problem.
Right.
I mean, some people are going to be happy at that, like, you know, 2, 5, 10K per month price point, which is like totally fine. Yeah. And like you can make a fucking killing. Like, dude, if like you made $10,000 a month consistently doing something you absolutely love, and you're living in another country where your money goes longer. Yeah. Yeah, but like there's,
I don't know. You can only live that. I mean, if you see yourself doing that for a couple of months, it's
fun.
Yeah, it's fun, but you know, it gets boring, right?
Boring. Like, because you're not building anything, right? Like you're like looking, and you're like, oh man, like I could do something bigger.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's always that. I feel like there's always a new mountain to climb, bro. Because like
always a new mountain to climb.
Yeah, I feel like once you go through one season, you're like, okay, I hit that, and like, bro, like you know, you pedestalize goals for a while. Yeah. And then I really like that reframe though. I think that's an interesting exercise. Is like, well, what if we just said fuck everything? Like, what am I capable of? And then like the benchmark then becomes like your own potential.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a mind fuck for me to think about like every once in a while, you know, because it's like so easy to get so fixated on like a very linear goal and a very linear path to get there. But I think where creativity, and I think that's something that like I need to introduce into my life, because it's like, what things do I do that makes me just think shit that I regularly would never think of? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Blake. So I know you're in future tech, and I want to talk about innovation, right? And what are some of the things that you're seeing in the market right now that's like, okay, this is the next big thing, and you know, not a lot of people. This is under, you know, there's not a lot of attention in this right now.
What I am currently working in is more so like an ethical, like these are all ethical challenges, especially.
How come? Why ethical with AI?
I'll tell you why. in 1956 was coined the term, or I suppose like it was like with AI was founded, quote unquote.
Okay.
56. IBM was one of the first companies to start actually developing. All artificial intelligence is just machine learning. It's like a computer that's able to simulate like human tasks. That's a very dangerous, right, at scale. We've actually seen it, and it, quite frankly, only like 2 years ago we started realizing that like, oh, this is actually a really powerful technology.
Yeah.
Let's take a step before that. What is Instagram? Instagram is an AI algorithm that is optimized for people to to see what they want on the internet. All these other software companies, the YouTubes, right, like the the TikToks, they started to really like use this AI to exploit it, to like really bad, so like exploit it and like fry our dopamine systems in our brain. Essentially, it's because when you give somebody what they want, especially you overload their dopamine systems in their brain, it causes the ramifications are huge, right? Are huge. And
what are we talking about there?
I'm talking about like if you were to like give everybody what they want like over like the phone and keep scrolling, right? Like someone has like let's just like 9 hours screen time a day, which is like actually like pretty common.
It's average, right? Like 8+ hours or something.
8 hours, like you're awake. Like let's just say there's 16 hours like waking hours or whatever in a day, and like 9 hours is like scroll. Like that's a large percentage of the time. Yeah. And like again, that was all powered by an AI. Like Instagram, like a human cannot put things that you like in front, like one person.
Yeah, like here's what you like.
Here's what you like. It's what's crazy is that you like users, that are using like these like Instagrams, for example, are training the AI to get better and smarter because we're providing them information and insight and
data feedback.
Yeah, data and feedback, right?
Yeah.
So I think to a certain extent, like companies are going to be using this technology to be very dangerous, and for example, oh man, like we've probably already seen this before. Like are you familiar with like deep fakes?
Yeah. There's some new ones with the fires, the car video.
Wreck people online. Like this is going to wreck people. And like we're talking about
the elections this year and shit.
Yeah, like let's talk about like some of the darker things. I mean, like again, like this technology was artificial intelligence. I think is dangerous when a single organization gets to control how it's developed. Ooh. Right?
Is there someone organization right now that's
off the top of my head, it's OpenAI. There's only a handful few that's able to let developers, like for example, like Ideify, like I have an OpenAI API that uses like my app. Like just like my app just helps people write content, showing people how to like create automations and stuff like that, like workflows and whatnot. Right. But like there's like people that are like using like kids photos, like it's terrible. But, and like exploiting kids on Instagram and creating like nudity accounts. Okay. Right? And like just from using AI models to like expand photos or like they type in a prompt and like they're exploiting kids on the internet. That's insane. Right. And we're talking, it's disgusting, right? And we're talking like this is the dark side that people don't talk about. People talk about
the good stuff.
What's also scary is around, I would say, the 60s, 70s, people used to think that artificial intelligence is going to take over like the blue collar jobs, right? The blue collar jobs, which is carpet cleaning, which what I mean, like very like, oh man, like pay this person a minimum wage to do like robotic work, right? Yeah, we were completely wrong. It was actually like completely flipped. It's taking over the white collar jobs. We're seeing website we're able to have AI design a website within seconds. We're seeing AI write entire copy, and it's scary because. Not the fact that we were wrong, but we were completely the polar opposite wrong. Yeah. So it's like our predictions today. You also have to question where this technology is headed because it really wasn't that long ago, back in like the 70s.
Yeah, just a couple decades ago.
Yeah, we have robots and stuff like that. Like I think the software is so much more advanced, like the actual like machine learning algorithms right now than the robotics. I think robotics has a lot of opportunity in development. Yeah. But like I think like the software in terms of like machine learning, natural language processing, and all that is going to be very like the decisions made today are going to like literally like it's going to be what the problems that we're going to be facing in the next 10, 15 plus years.
That's insane, man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of that, like, have you discuss this publicly? I mean, this is going to go online. And in terms of like doing this more ethically, is there anything, or have you came up with a thesis on how do you combat the...
It's not necessarily combating. It's more of like you have to create a department that's going to contain it. Right?
Okay.
So the analogy that I like to make, and I made this analogy at the White House conference I was recently at, and people when people are unaware and they don't really know about certain types of technology, oftentimes people are scared.
Yeah.
And like they don't know what to do, and usually they just want to like completely just stop it from developing, right? Which is actually could be even more detrimental, right? This technology is going to develop regardless of whether we like it or not. Right?
Yeah, even if we're not using it, right? Because it's automatically learning.
It's learning. Dude, ChatGPT 3.5 literally trained GPT-4. Like, without human intervention.
That's crazy.
It's insane to me. So, the thing that I talked about, because I got invited to a panel.
That's kind of scary.
They were picking my brains about this. And I was like, again, like, I'm not an expert in AI by any means. Like, I'm learning about it every single day.
Yeah.
But, like, I gave them... sort of feedback when I'm working with this technology is like, you know how it's sort of like containing fire, right? So like humans created, tools to contain fire. We created fire departments, fire extinguishers, and stuff like that. Right? Fire is inevitably, it was beneficial for humanity because we use it to cook food.
Yeah.
We use it to, so we have fireplaces and stuff like that. But like this technology could wreck us. It could burn everything, right? That's why we created departments, right? To contain that from happening. And I think it's going to be the same. Like we'd have to have set very strict guardrails for people, especially developers, and companies to not fully exploit this technology because it is I think like a billion times, and I it's a billion times more powerful than the printing press. The printing press influenced a lot of people because if you're able to create stuff on a piece of paper and then print thousands of those, you're able to influence beliefs.
Yeah. It's shifting the beliefs. It's insane.
You're shifting a beliefs, right? You're shifting religion. Yeah. Right? But when you're able to have, again, like this, it's scary to me because like you're able to have this technology like learning, it's literally learning from us. Like it's insane. It's insane.
So it kind of adapts the human traits of like how they take advantage of each other too.
Yeah.
No,
it could recreate like your reality and like the way you like see the world.
Yeah,
totally. It makes me question reality when I'm working in this.
Yeah, because who knows, right? Like in the next 10 years, 5 years, like, or once we're gone, like how would they see the reality, right?
Yeah.
And then that's where it gets a little bit, when you mentioned print and press, when World War II happened, is the history, like history is written by the victors.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing to talk about.
It is scary. I mean, we're literally living in, I think, one of the most pivotal points in history. Like right now, we're on the brink of like when AI is slowly starting to get developed, in this year specifically.
Yeah.
Like a GPT, November, I think of 2022 surpassed 100 million users. It took 100 million users. Compare that to like all of the other, like the Twitter, the TikTok. It took them years to get to that. They hit that in 2 months.
Insane.
Insane. IBM ran like a study. I'll send you like the reports of like companies using artificial intelligence in their business. And most of them are enterprises that are doing hundreds of millions of dollars that are actually using it in their businesses, right? A lot of small to medium-sized businesses aren't. And the way that I see it, and this is why like I decided to go like instead of helping content creators, I want to help small to medium-sized businesses. Is like I'm trying to help them adopt AI so that they're not going to get put under the water. It's because like the tools that you're like the things that you're able to do with this technology. Again, like I'm not a big proponent of replacing an entire department or like replacing an entire workforce. I think that to a certain extent, we still need like 50% human and
someone still need to operate it, right?
100%, right? It's like instead of getting rid of 50 people who are processing paperwork, it's like why not we just implement this technology for them to like 10x their output or like reduce things by like 50%. If you reduce like let's just say trim the fat by like 50%. Keep the same amount of people, you technically doubled your business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you have more resources to reinvest, right? When you're a business, money's not the only resource. It's like you have humans that are actually doing things. Like you can have them focus on like the higher leverage tasks, the more creative tasks.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that this technology is really going to reshape a lot of businesses as we know it.
Yeah.
It honestly is going to be like one of the most disruptive things that I have.
Yeah.
that I have even laid my hands on.
It's like when humans figured out about fire.
No, 100%. This is cool, but it's also dangerous. It's like you gotta create rules around it. It's exactly what we're going through.
Well, I'm interested because like if you think about it, I mean the internet is very like interesting as well. But like I think for the most part, like the internet that the world has access to, that's like just like the surface level of the internet. Because then like I was listening to like some guy that does like hacking, and like the black web or like the deep web like is a whole different animal. So I'm assuming like there's like a way like you're saying to contain it and then give out like the censored version of like AI. But yeah, I think that's crazy because I also saw a video from Marquez Brownlee that broke down like this new AI that like writes videos and it looks fucking real.
That's crazy.
Like
oh yeah, that one video generator.
Yeah.
What is it called? Like Sora or something?
Yeah, Sora.
Yeah, I'm actually curious. And then someone might be watching this and it's like, look, that's good and all, like that's scary, and I'm just a regular person watching this, and like, how do I protect myself from this?
It's inevitable. I mean, the way that I see it is,
or how do you educate yourself from it, right?
Yeah, I mean, just like do your research and like know what tools are accessible to you. I think like when I'm giving advice to like the average individual, it's like, dude, if you're an entrepreneur, like be a badass entrepreneur. Learn how to learn how to use this technology to, like if you don't have that many resources, it's like you don't have to hire a whole admin department to do this. You can implement something called intelligent document processing to do those things, or like you can literally like sell this implementation service to other businesses, right?
Yeah.
So I think
AI
really just like
infrastructures.
Yeah, like I think it really just like it will extend. I think it's made to like extend our current skill sets and our abilities. And it's just like, I mean, it's a lot of opportunity for people to start working in the space for sure.
I think it's a very leveraged way to actually like help people out, because I think if you learn how to actually integrate and use like AI and being like an early adopter, it's like kind of like the gold rush
first
analogy.
movers, right?
Yeah, you got to catch the wave before like it actually. I do like, in my personal opinion, like after like seeing crypto NFTs, I do believe AI like just blows everything out the water. Like it's not even close, because the concept of Bitcoin and everything, like decentralizing money, is like very interesting. I also do believe that is the future of like currency and stuff like that. But again, AI is so integrated into like day-to-day shit, like even editing or like whatever, right?
Yeah.
But dude, it's crazy because like I actually know like a 16-year-old kid right now making bank off of just selling like AI like the dialing systems. So it's like so fucking weird. Like it's again, I think you are right. AI will disrupt like all businesses. It's not just, it doesn't matter what business you run. It can be the most mundane shit. But like, yeah, dude, like it's actually kind of freaky thinking about it, because I remember playing with ChatGPT and being like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's like to the point where it's just like the possibilities is a little bit like too much. But obviously, like I what I think about, it's like, okay, yeah, we got ChatGPT, when like on a global scale we can use it, but like what about the shit that's actually getting developed? And who has the developers, who has access, like what can that shit do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like you're talking about like once it gets into the hands of like one organization, and you're talking about like, let's say for example in the U.S., we all know it. More people are waking up to the idea of like, the country being ran by like, the unseen figures, people that actually just like play behind the scenes. Like I can only imagine what they would want to do with like this type of technology. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where shit for me is like.
I feel like they already have it, right? It's like it's just not publicly announced.
Yeah. I guess like the social media apps to some extent. Like for example, dude, like I've gone off like Instagram recently. I just deleted it, just took it off my phone for a little bit, and just realized like how like, dude, imagine if you spend most of your life just fucking looking at a screen. Like, it's fucking weird, dude. Like, that's why I'm like, fuck, I gotta visit nature or some shit, bro. Like,
No, it's crazy. I think the only way that people are going to regulate it, that's actually going to have huge effects to the populace are going to be like the governments, the countries. It's going to boil down to like the countries, and then also like the governments, local institutions, the organizations, and stuff like that. And then it's going to go down to like the businesses, and like the culture, and then the people, which are like the individual users.
Yeah.
Like again, it starts with the countries. For example, I don't know if you know, like Italy totally banned AI. Like they saw how dangerous this is, and they're like, "Yeah, we're not going to allow it in my country."
Yeah,
right? I know
that's
there's
interesting.
Other countries that just aren't going to allow that.
Doesn't that do more damage though? Like if you don't use it,
It comes with pros and cons, right? Again, probably more people are, for example.
Underdeveloped. They just underdeveloped.
yeah, because that's all I was thinking, right? It's like one of those things where like, you know, people are using like I know slingshots or like swords and everything, and then someone start using guns, right? Like, well, we're losing battles and wars. And it's like, well, you didn't adapt earlier, where you had the option to, right? So, isn't this? It's like another repeat of history is like happening right now.
Right,
it's just insane.
No, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm sorry to like jump in, but like, what do you guys think about the Neuralink? Like, because I saw recently that there is an actual like article that like the Neuralink has been successfully implanted into somebody.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Like,
in their brain right now.
Human.
Like not a dead one, but like a live.
A literal, not a monkey, not nothing, bro.
Yeah.
Last time I remember this.
Let me ask you this. Like, would you get the Neuralink?
Like the first generation, second generation. First generation. No.
Okay, let's just say it's widely like accepted. Would you like feel comfortable with like using the Neuralink?
Probably not the first time because I'd want to make sure that like
there's still bugs
planted in my brain, like there's no updates. You feel me? Imagine like you just implanted it in your head and like you're like, all right guys, there's a recall.
Yeah, fuck.
And you have to open up your head again and take it out.
So ideally not. I think what the direction that they're trying to go though, with like the Neuralinks is like people who have like disabilities, right? Like people who literally like that can't move because like their brain signals are not administering the signals to like their hand to lift up their arm, and I think they're probably going to go that, and obviously those people are going to be like sort of like the guinea pigs to a certain extent, but as from what I've seen, like, it's like, what option do you have? You play chess, it's like
sure. That's
like, there's a chance for me to like get up and walk again. It's like you're gonna put everything on the fucking line for that. Like I'd probably want them to go through iterations. For me personally, I would not do the first. Just like the what is it, the Apple?
Yeah, the Vision Pro.
I wouldn't fucking do that. Maybe it's a cool relic to have, but like it's not practical personally. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, other than creating fucking
content about it.
But I don't know. Would you get?
Bro, honestly, like
I wish I was gonna say like I wish I passed away before that thing's happen. I'm not gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. Like I don't want to be here when that thing's happening.
That shit's starting to get a little bit too crazy for me. Cause like, that one like SpongeBob movie, like where like have you guys watched the SpongeBob movie where he goes to like get the crown and some shit?
Oh yeah.
Bro, when they all have the helmets and shit?
Right.
I feel like it's gonna be some variation of that. Fucking zombies.
Plankton.
Yeah. Dude, like,
they're all just getting manipulated. Or like for example, I guess the comparison with electric vehicles. I mean, like if the government tells you stay in your home, right? They could just turn your car off and can't go anywhere. Right? Imagine that with your body.
Are you just saying, bro? And then you like
you're not complying. Turn off.
And then you fucking go to the virtual reality or virtual realm, and then that's where you live. Like, bro, they just locked up my physical body again, bro. Like,
I was talking to my uncle, and he's like an older guy.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, usually, we're looking forward to, the future, in my generation, like we have a very, positive sense of the future. We're like, with you guys, with social media, with all this new technology and stuff like that, I'm glad that I grew up riding, a bike around my neighborhood with my friends and stuff. Like, dude,
I feel like it's a burden, honestly, on our generation. Fucking A, dude.
No, it's scary even for our generation. It's even scarier for the future generations. I don't know. Personally,
just seeing
no, it's
crazy.
It's gonna be weird. I think new advancements in any form of technology is just gonna be weird until it becomes normal.
Yeah.
Just like the internet, for example. It's like, why would you go across? Why would you buy a book on the internet? For example, like Amazon. Whereas like you just walk across the street, go to Barnes and Noble. Right, it's weird back then, but now it's like I can do that. It's normal.
Yeah, I want to pivot a little bit here and ask you because it's still AI and talking about like how you use it. So you mentioned that you want to help small to medium businesses to do it, right? And I'm curious. I mean, we're in online space, right? There's some people in the online space as small to medium businesses considered, right? And in terms of using AI for their businesses, like where are there some things? Because some people, I don't know, like I just don't know where to start. Like
absolutely, yeah. I'll tell you. I'll give you one that you guys can apply.
Yeah, because selfishly, I'm curious. Like, I mean, I don't want to be left behind. You know?
Companies coming to me for they're like, okay, it's like sounds great and everything, but like, how do you actually like how could this thing benefit me?
Yeah.
If you run an online business, let's just say, hypothetically, you do like B2B outbound.
Yeah.
Let's just say like your business runs off of like leads, and then you work the leads to close, stuff like that. One that I'm, one that I'm like kind of bullish on. Is like personalized outreach, right?
Yeah,
so like exactly. Like
appointment setting.
Appointment setting.
I've been hearing that a lot. So
let me talk about like an automation that I'm currently like testing right now that would totally fucking work.
Yeah.
So I'm obviously every single marketer knows the more personalized the message is, the higher the conversion, right?
Right.
But it's hard to do that at scale.
100%.
Very hard.
Yep.
Like, like you know what I mean? Like TJ, if you didn't know me and I reached out to you and I said, hey TJ, how's Vegas? Coming like I saw that you moved to Vegas and you're just getting settled with Elijah, and like it's like not like weird in a way, but like it's like you're like, do you know me? Like, have we met before?
Yeah.
So I'm talking about personalized outreach messages at scale. What you can do is you can take a full like spreadsheet of, let's just say like 100, like 100 prospects. And you have their LinkedIn URLs. Right, so every single one, you could technically use that link because like LinkedIn's the public URL, which is how you could train an AI model to send personalized outreach messages, and you could train that outreach message specifically for the LinkedIn. So it would pull real-time data like from them individually, right? So the recent posts, recent articles, accomplishments, right? Recent updates.
I need to talk to you about this because I'm sorry to use LinkedIn soon.
You're gonna see, right? And you obviously as a business, like a B2B outreach business, if you're like you have like appointment setters, right? You have people who closers, right? Like it would help them drastically because it's just like those messages, right, would essentially would get them to an appointment to help with sales, right? Scale, right? So again, just making like that little tweak in a business, right? Imagine sending 1,000 cookie cutter emails or 1,000 personalized messages that are
pulls like real time,
that pulls real data from, again, like LinkedIn, and obviously if they're active on there. Recent accomplishments and stuff like that. And then to a certain extent, automating that to continue a conversation and automate that whole conversation that, that doesn't have a need for human intervention, right? So and it's just like they booked a call, right? And then now they're talking with an actual human. They're like, wait. Like I wasn't texting somebody. And like, no, like we automated the whole process. You actually talked to our AI model.
Oh yeah,
that's scary. That's scary and that's dangerous. So I mean, to a certain extent, like that's just like one out of like 50 I just have in my head.
Yeah,
that would really help.
Because isn't it like certain social medias ban like outbound where like you can use automation, your account get restricted?
Yeah, I mean you could use like ManyChat, for example, the Instagram DM.
Oh yeah. The two-step
sort of back and forth. You know what I mean? Like, you can automate that, right? DM me this.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Then it's gonna trigger an automation and stuff like that. Yeah, to a certain extent it could. But that can be that can be a pretty valuable one. Another one that I'm like really bullish on as well, because like I like working with traditional brick and mortars because like this whole AI thing is like goes over their head.
You're like,
they're stuck, bro.
Think about think about like the medical practices or like the insurances, the people who like process physical paperwork. Like I'm talking about like, you show up to a doctor and you're like, here's the sheet of paper that they fill out, the client's information, all things, right? And they give it back. They're processing large amounts of physical paperwork. Data. It's like, if you were to, like, I think the first step is to digitize that data. So do, collect information digitally. Exactly. And then train, and essentially like train, that data. You could literally train an AI model. I'll give you an example. Like, if I ran like a doctor's office, what I would do is I would take all of my patient information, right, individually, and then actually give them like holistic health plans, or like if I wanted to prescribe them medications, I can use all of that individual, because like when you go to the doctor, it's not really that personalized. They probably, you know what I mean? Like you go there, you're like, I'm hurt, right? You fill out this paper, right? Which you've already given them from the last visit. They do that. They call the doctor reads that piece of paper. They're like, okay, you feel like this. Okay. And then they ask you generic questions about things. And they're like, well, I'm just going to like, recommend you take this pill. Whereas like you can train an AI to just scan.
They're better than doctors.
No, 100%. Like,
that's crazy. Oh my gosh.
It will essentially help them. I'm not trying to put them out of practice, but help make better decisions.
Bro, imagine you upload all the fucking Google Wikipedia into like an AI about like medical records and shit.
Dude, yeah.
And then you're like, okay.
Like, what did my 12 year of experience went to? Gone.
Shit, dude.
Yeah. Goodbye. Bye.
It can help people make better decisions. Help people make, especially doctors when you're prescribing something like pills or whatever. But I mean, like you can automate like physical paperwork and like make processes a lot more efficient. Like there's actually like
more efficiency.
Huge need for that. If I was starting off and like I was like, oh, I don't know what type of agency to go after. It's like, dude, like intelligent document processing, and helps like local businesses sort of digitize, streamline that data, and like train an AI model to make that beneficial for a company. Like that's the direction in which I would go. And like there's just so many businesses that deal with paperwork. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Right? People don't know, like in order for data to become useful, it has to be digitized. Right. And then again, like it goes to like financial, like accountants, financial analysts, right? Like anyone in the finance sector, like you have to process large reports that are just like thousands of pages. Like a human can't amalgamate all that information. They can't analyze all that information. Right. It takes a long time, and it takes an experienced person to go through all that paper to like look for trends and correlations and stuff like that. Right. Whereas like an AI can like make a decision within seconds and say like, oh yeah, here's a trend, right? Like
it's insane.
Missing a receipt, they're like, why is the balance sheet not balancing, right?
Yeah.
Look through all the receipts, and it's like, boom, on March 8th, you forgot to add this receipt, right? And then if you add this receipt, it'll balance, and then you're able to do that. That takes an accountant so much time, and I've done that myself personally. Yeah. It's ridiculous, right? But now we have the technology to do that. And that's just like another one that would be very practical, useful, and very effective for a business.
I love it, man. So I'm curious with this, and I want to see your opinion, because I don't know if you've been, looking at online, and a lot of people are like, here's how you start an AI agency. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Honestly, your opinion about that, it's coming out. It's like
the dropshippers are starting to change their minds.
They're changing their minds to now going to AI. So it's like, is it like as easy as people say, or like how do you actually break through this industry? If like, let's say, is this a beginner friendly, or is this like, like where was your opinion here, and like what
I'm always a big proponent of like artificial intelligence if it's done ethically. I think those people are right. Honestly, like building an AI automation agency is like huge potential. I can't even put a finger on like what the TAM is like on AI.
Everybody.
It's not a market. Like literally every single bit. Like NFTs is debatable, because it's just like, does this local business need an NFT product?
Not really.
No, but like AI, it's like it can completely integrate
the whole world.
Oh my goodness! So you can literally implement AI to anything.
Yeah. But like just because you can doesn't necessarily mean you should.
Yeah.
Right. And like there has to be some sort of like the first sort of approach I would, do, I would take as like a business is like, okay, like you have to define ethics. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? They always will boil.
Yeah. That's one thing the money Twitter space doesn't know about.
Some people in business, fuck.
Dude, Twitter is like terrible, but I mean, like, it's cool that these kids are doing that.
Yeah.
I think if you're gonna build an AI automation agency, you want to build in the long run.
Okay.
Like there definitely is a lot of opportunity to help. For example, it's like, dude, if I came to you and I don't know what your closing, I don't know like how many outbound messages you need to send in order to like et cetera. But like if I came to you and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna 1000x your outreach, but I'm also gonna do conversion rate optimization, and I'm gonna increase it by like 50%. Would you believe me?
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Right.
That's insane.
And if I did that and I said, okay, cool, can I get 10% of the like, can I get 10% of that, what I bring you, 20%, 30%? Can you believe me? Right. So like, then you can literally do that for a business. So like, again, this technology exists. It's like, you don't have to build a sales team in order to do that. You have to train them. It's like, you can, again, I think you're able to get faster results for a business.
Yeah.
I'm very bullish still on like the service space, like AI implementation as a service is that next thing. It's not like drop ship. You know what I mean? Also like software development.
Yeah.
I think that there's still a lot that needs to be done from what I've seen.
So the learning curve on this is like, what was it like? I would say like to be able to operate this, like, okay, this makes sense for me to sell it to someone.
I would only recommend it to people who's familiar with like IT and software. Honestly, if you like you consider yourself not tech savvy, probably not. I'd probably look into like working with the team.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like you have to like kind of work and test with it. Like my favorite apps to like test on is like Make.com, because like Make has an open AI integration and like you can pretty much automate anything. Like you can automate like social media posting, right? Like what's really cool.
Check that out.
There's literally an automation where you can like sync your, for example, if you have like a WordPress or Squarespace website, it can like scan your, like let's say you post a blog post,
right?
It like could scan that, and then it can automatically run that blog post through GPT, and then refurbish that to like a Twitter post, and then that Twitter post can be posted on your Twitter. It can also be reposted to all these different we're talking about like complete automation, like posting stuff like that. Like you can technically do Make.com.
Make.com.
Yeah. No, it's like it is really cool. And like, I think a lot of businesses haven't really figured this out yet. We're still very early, but
first movers gets the piece of the pie.
Dude, right? Totally. I think I mean I think to a certain extent, like even sales.
I think the appointment setting, that's why I've been telling my guys, I feel like I have a intuition feeling that appointment setting is going to go away, and like closing is staying. That's why you need to get to closing as fast as you can.
Well, sales is made in the follow-up, right?
Yeah.
So why can't they just use this sort of technology to like, automate their follow-up so that they can get higher closes? Right. Yeah. So like, I think that's what it's going to be. I don't necessarily I don't have the perspective of like, it's going to completely eliminate like an entire department or like a need for this position.
You know what's crazy though?
But I think it's going to help them a lot.
Mm-hmm. Google like literally just replaced I think it's like $43 million worth of like customer service.
Yeah, customer service that's a big one.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Customer service does make sense because it just like that position is like the way that I were to phrase this in a company, because I do consulting, is like, okay, what is like the least fulfilling roles, departments, positions, or tasks in your business, and like, okay, let's figure out how to automate that.
Yeah.
Right. Like no one likes doing fucking like responding to like angry customers like Yelp reviews and stuff like that. So usually they'll
automate it.
We just try to automate that.
That's awesome. Cause like the amount of like emotional stress that you get from like responding to this type of comments is nuts, right? And again, like I want to pivot with this other question. I know we've been running this, bro. I have so much. We could probably go for hours, but I know you're Filipino, right? And you were born and raised here in America, right? Because for me, I was born and raised in the Philippines, and I was curious. Have you ever thought about bringing AI? I don't know if anybody's doing AI in the Philippines. Like, have you thought about like that's a complete untapped market? There's a lot of businesses out there that's not doing this.
AI Filipinos.
But there's so many companies there though. That's like
I mean, there's a lot of customer service departments out there. And stuff like that. I mean, they're more at risk. I just don't really know. What are you gonna like? They're gonna have to adjust. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because it's concerning, right? Because a lot of like, I'm pretty sure a lot of like cash of like the the GPD of Philippines is like VAs and like customer service call centers.
Right.
And in one of the most prominent cities in Philippines is BGC. Yeah. They have so many like buildings there that's like, like, I don't know, like 70 floor high. Right. It's just call centers. And then it's like, that's kind of concerning with AI coming in. It's like, well, it's like you need to pivot soon or,
No, yeah, totally. I think when I tell people like like this technology is gonna like it is gonna be disruptive for a lot of positions. I'm still very like I see a lot of opportunity in like those like labor intensive jobs. Like there's no way we're gonna automate like laundromat services. This is why I'm a big proponent of like boring businesses.
Yeah.
Right. People who are mow the lawns. People are still gonna build the houses and stuff like that. However, like you have to look at the tools that you have available. For example, it's like you can literally create a website within seconds.
Yeah.
Like you play around with those those softwares.
It's nuts.
Why not do that as a service? Why not scale that as a service? You know what I mean? Like again, like you can scale agency operations just by doing that one thing for like a lot of different businesses, and like your turnaround is going to be insane, and that's going to be your USP as a business, right? Or as an agency. And I think like you just have to like sort of look at what the opportunities are, and I think I mean that's what I do. I mean, we're gonna see contractors, handymans, a lot of like like brick and mortars are gonna be a lot more rich because it's just like these really smart, intelligent people who went through like 8 years in college got replaced by this computer.
Yeah, it's nuts, man, and that's why I'm saying like this is concerning. You know, people are getting into debt, and inflation and everything is catching up, and I'm like, okay, well, what's going on, man? Like, there's gonna be an influx of like, the high class, middle class. I think the middle class is like thinning down right now.
Right.
It's all like, it's either like you're broke or you're rich. Like this.
Yeah. They're trying to. The U.S. is definitely trying to get rid of the middle class for sure.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
It's interesting, man.
Yeah.
Man, we could keep going. I wanna go get some cigars with you, man. Like get some behind the scenes stuff, but I wanna ask you a last question. I don't know if DJ has one, but for you, Blake, you've done. How old are you right now?
22.
You're 20. I just turned 22 too, man. So
go.
So you're 22 years old.
Huh?
I'm 23.
23.
Elder.
You're elderly, man. You're 22 years old. You work with, you've had an agency experience. You manage like a 1.2 million a month agency sales team, and you also like work with some prominent people in the industry, Iman, Rand, Pineda, and now you're building this and working with small to medium sized companies, right? And my question is like, what's next for you, and where do you see yourself? Like, let's say in your deathbed, right? Like, where do you see yourself? I've done these cool things. Like, what does that look like? Or when you're reflecting back?
Yeah, I mean, I just like, again, I'm going to revert back to like, I want to be able to challenge myself in because like, I don't like necessarily to like define the things that I achieve. I just do the things, right? It's an interesting thing when like you see like the people who are here and people are up here.
Yeah.
These people, okay, this is interesting. These people's goals are these people's tasks. You understand? You know what I mean? You get me?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like this is like scale, like this person's like, oh, I want to build, like $100 million business. And this person up here is like, I want to increase, my business by 10%. That's the task.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I think for me, it's like, I want to be able to contribute as much as I can to this vertical, which is like future tech, AI, software and stuff like that. I want to be able to help as many like small to medium sized businesses as possible to like advance in this. And I think I'd be happy if I'm able to, like work and I currently am doing that. Like dude, if you were to ask me like I had this like thought. I was like, what's the pinnacle in my career, and I achieved it last week. You know what I mean? I was literally talking to the Secretary of State. Literally, they flew from Washington D.C. to like ask me about this evolving technology, and I was just like, people would build like their entire careers just to do that, and then again, it's just like I didn't even know that was possible. So I think instead of like defining the things that I want to achieve, it's more so like let's just keep building and just helping other people build ethically in this space, and like just helping because like my goal is always going to be to accelerate the the world's transition to like future technology, doing it the right way,
right?
And I just want to have fun along the way. Like I fucking love I love cigars, I love snowboarding, I love software, like,
have fun with it,
having fun with it. But like I also feel like I have a lot of work to do in this space, and as long as like I'm having fun and I'm building these projects and doing things that I love, then I think in my deathbed I'd be happy. I
love it, man. Appreciate you from being the pod.
Thanks for having me,
bro. Thank you so much, brother.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Sir, let's get some
Let's get
cigars.
some cigars. Let's get it. Woo! That's a wrap.
If it wasn't recording the whole time, I'd cry.
That would have beat.
What do you record on, bro? OBS. So you